Hi, I'm Ren.
I'm Sam.
I'm Tosh.
And we're the T-Swift sisters.
Welcome back to the T-Swift Sisters podcast, a Taylor Swift fan podcast for Swifties by Swifties. In today's episode, we are discussing the final lead up to Eras Miami, aka things you need to know before you go to your show, Hurricane Milton, and T-Swift Ice Cream. Here's this week's literal Swift scoop. You see how I added that literal in there because we're going to be talking about ice cream this week?
Ice cream.
I did like that. Yeah.
Thank
Excellent.
you.
So
Thank
clever.
you. It was one of those like last minute things that I just came up with. Slay, honestly.
Amazing.
So obviously this week we're going to have to talk about something that's not so fun to kick off the pod with, but I think if we kind of just hunker down, basically if we just get through this section of the pod, have honest, open conversations about what happened, and then we proceed to the fun stuff. How does that sound?
Yay. Let's do it.
All right. So as you may or may not know, if you're new to listening to this pod or if you've been around for a while, we are three Florida girlies. So that means I'm sure that you know, or at least can put the pieces together, that we were impacted by Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. Thankfully so, we are all okay. Our homes are all okay. We didn't suffer any devastation, loss, across the three of us. But because it is our hometown, well, our home state, I guess, I don't know. I thought it was something that we should kind of talk about on the pod and just kind of, go over things that happened, tell you how Taylor Swift is kind of entwined with that in a weird kind of way, and then how you can give back if you are interested or able. So I guess to kick things off, Tosh, since you moved back to Florida, you've now experienced not one, but two hurricanes.
Quite literally, it's like I came and then hurricane season was like, welcome. Milton was scary because it was like I'm in Fort Myers, and so it was like gonna kind of like hit on that side, like Fort Myers, Naples, Sarasota, Tampa area. Thankfully, the worst that happened was no Wi-Fi for like 4 days, and like that's like a privilege for me to say. And yeah, like I think it's something that you wouldn't think we'd talk about on a Taylor podcast, but like because we're from Florida, it obviously hits home quite literally. And we didn't know how it would affect Eras in Miami. And so, yeah, I'm glad we're talking about this.
Yeah, I think, obviously our pod is light-hearted, fun stuff, but at the end of the day, it is still news. I do love that we've tapped into the newsy aesthetic for this season, but what we do share is news, whether it's Swiftie news or pop culture and current events and things that are going on, and this is something that's going on in our lives and could be the lives of Swifties. There's tons of Swifties who are flying into the shows that I'm sure they were concerned what was going to happen that way. Taylor's team had to come down and start setting up the stage and everything. So obviously that was going to be impacted. And then just our livelihoods and how it has affected our day to day. And last week was absolutely insane. Obviously, Tosh, you had it way worse than we did down here in Miami. It was more nerve-wracking for you than it was for us, but it's still anxiety inducing, excuse me.
Right.
And we were also worried about you and how you were going to be and how your cats were going to be, it's scary to see something like when we went last month to go see Twisters, right? And we were like, oh, that'll never happen here. And then I was reading the news yesterday and 110 to 117 tornadoes hit Florida.
That's crazy.
That is terrifying. That is so scary.
And I feel like I remember when I watched Twisters, I was like, wow, thank goodness I don't live in a state where tornadoes are a thing.
Well, I think that's the biggest issue is that a lot of our population has the mindset, and me as well, that we are not in an area that gets impacted by tornadoes, and that would never happen to us. And a lot of places in northern Florida haven't had that type of history with hurricanes, storms, tornadoes, so they don't have that preparedness. And this had the biggest impact. And I think that's what made it so scary. We see tornado who's going across I-75 and we're like, what is happening? That's not supposed to happen here in our state. But it's scary to know.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a coworker who lives out in Weston, which is like fairly close to Miami-Dade County. So like if you're not from Florida, it's essentially Miami-Dade County. And then north of Miami-Dade County is Broward County, where Weston is. And she was like, there's tornado warnings literally, not to bring Sabrina Carpenter into this, but literally going off in my house. She's like, I don't know why I'm standing outside and telling you guys if I can see it or not. Like, I need to run inside. Like, the first time that we've experienced something like this truly, and it's frightening, but I'm also kind of, not in a sense glad, but like happy that we got to experience it. So we know what to prepare for now, right? Like, we know if you see a funnel cloud like 100 yards away, like, okay, there's actually, it's not something like, oh, that'd never happen in Miami. That'll never happen in Fort Myers. Like, these are real things that happen now. So now we just know how to be even more prepared. And then I think with that, we can kind of loop Taylor in, because obviously I think she would have done this even if she didn't have a show coming up in Florida. But I just wanted to share a little news article with you guys. So according to AP News, Taylor Swift has donated $5 million to Feeding America to support relief efforts in the aftermath of Hurricanes Helene and Milton. And I just want to like add in a little side note story here, that 4 years ago, this is like a memory unlocked for me, Sammy. I don't know if you remembered off the bat.
I knew where this was going.
We also volunteered with Feeding America. We didn't donate money, but we actually volunteered our services to Feeding America 4 years ago when COVID hit.
Never forget.
I feel like I don't remember you guys doing that.
That's a random core memory for me.
It's a random memory, and like, I guess I had kept it, you know, it was a core memory, and I kind of had to unlock it when I saw where she donated. I was like, wait a minute, I remember this.
Yep. So again, it hits close to home because we've had involvement with this organization and they're amazing. So it's great to see that at this time when so many people were affected and still, you know, being impacted by Hurricane Helene. I mean, that was truly devastating. She always seems to stand up and contribute and make a positive impact. So love our queen for that.
Yes, yes. And just a little, since we were talking about our volunteering, we actually, and since you said you forgot, Tosh, I'll just throw it in here. We packaged, I think, and stood in like, so when COVID started impacting the grocery stores and all of that, they had like food banks and stuff like Feeding America, essentially, where the volunteers would come and we packaged all the food throughout the morning, and then they let lines of cars in, kind of like the way you used to do COVID testing, like the lines of cars. And we would stand there and hand them the meals or package the meals in their vehicle for them.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
I love that y'all did that.
It was a nice experience, something different, and I'm glad that we got to give back then, and that's kind of like the direction of where we're going with this story in our episode about giving back if and where you can. You know, it's always nice to, if you come across something that you're able to do and give back to your community, maybe it doesn't cost you money, maybe it costs you a day's worth of time. You know, obviously time is money, but there's different ways that you can help out if you can. So with Taylor's donation, essentially the nonprofit Feeding America announced her donation last week Wednesday with a thank you graphic that had like a friendship bracelet. It was super cute. It was shared all over. We have it on our Instagram if you want to go look at it. And they're incredibly grateful for the donation. Obviously, this helps to purchase all of those meals, that events that Samantha and I did where you package the meals and everything. Money goes there, and that's where that comes from. So like, that's where the funds for this food goes. So they also said this contribution will help communities rebuild and recover, providing essential food, clean water, and supplies to the people affected by these devastating storms. Together, we can make a real impact in supporting families as they navigate the challenges ahead. So with that, and to kind of close out this little sector of the news, if you're looking to also help out in Hurricane Milton, Hurricane Helene disaster relief funds, you can donate to the org that Taylor did. which is give.feedamerica.org. So there's links like on their website to kind of help you navigate to that specific disaster relief fund for the hurricanes, or at any one of the organizations listed in the New York Times. I chose the Times just because they did a vetting process before they went ahead and published their article. So if you're not going to go to the Times, which is linked in our bio/show notes for today's episode, so that you just have to click that and then select the organization that you want to. If you're going to do your own, like select your own URL or something to donate is where I'm getting at. Do your research before, make sure that, you know, it's a trustworthy organization. Something that you can look for is like if it has .gov in the URL, it's probably safe because that means it's a government website. Just kind of have your own vetting process before you go ahead and make that donation. I know like today I was doing groceries and they asked if I wanted to round up to the American Red Cross to kind of support these funds, and like that's something quick that you can do, and every penny counts at the end of the day. So yeah,
Important stuff.
and then I think now we can kind of get on to the fun stuff, the happier stuff, which is Eras Week has officially arrived here in Miami, Florida.
Woohoo!
Can't believe it.
How did we get here?
Update number 52, right? It's been like 52 weeks since we started talking about this on the pod. We do not have tickets. This is the last time that we are going to be on the pod giving you guys an update about our ticket status.
Yeah, because next time it'll be live in the moment, vlogging.
That's true. That's true. I was going to say next time you'll know if we do or don't, but it will be because we'll be like, hey, it's Friday. We don't have tickets. We're going to try for Saturday. But that's not the vibe that we're giving.
No,
Right.
It's giving we're getting tickets Saturday night.
Did you see my Instagram story today on TaylorSwift Sisters Pod that I posted? I went to Target. I went to Target drive up and right into spot 13. First spot.
It's a sign.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
What a way to kick off Eras Week.
Thanks, Target.
If it fits, I sits. I don't think that's how you say it, but that's what we're going to say today.
First I've heard.
Okay, so essentially, we want to share with you guys some of the things that you should be looking forward to or paying attention to if you're heading to the Hard Rock Stadium this weekend for the Eras Tour. So everything that we're sharing can be found on the Hard Rock Stadium website. Just give that a quick Google search, Hard Rock Stadium. Obviously, it's the one that says the Eras Tour is coming to Miami. So that's like all I need to share on that. But before we segue into that, I want to talk about really quickly Ticketmaster and their like taking people off the wait list that usually happens before each show. So basically, you're only selected to purchase tickets if you're on the wait list for your show. So like when we were in LA, we were not able to get off the wait list because we had never been like waitlisted for LA. Does that make sense? Like we never said LA is the show that we want to go to, and they said, okay, well, you didn't get chosen to buy tickets, move on.
Mm-hmm.
For this show, essentially the three of us are all on the wait list. So like possibility for us to get tickets would apply because we all registered as a verified fan for Miami, Florida.
Right.
Okay. I wanted to make sure. So they have not removed fans from the waitlist to select the tickets. Basically, the way it works, or like rumor has it that right about 2 weeks before the show, or like a week and a half before the show, when the trucks come down and build the stage, they kind of are able to see if there's extra seats available or like room for more seats on the floor, different parts of the stadium, so that they can release additional tickets, right? So like, let's say A13 is a section on floor. If A13 was supposed to have 100 seats, now they can actually fit 150 there. So that's 50 tickets that are available for purchase now.
Amazing.
Essentially what happened is that we're thinking that the trucks were not able to make it to Miami on their scheduled time because of the hurricane. So that kind of put a delay in the process, meaning that Hard Rock Stadium wasn't able to say we have 50 extra seats in A13 that you can open up these tickets for. So I'm thinking if it's going to happen, it might not happen at all. It's going to be later on in this week when the stage is officially completed. So if you're listening to this episode and it has not happened yet, if it does happen, you'll receive an email and a text from Ticketmaster saying like, hey, grab your laptop. In 5 minutes, you can purchase additional tickets to the Eras Tour.
And just to clarify to the listeners, we're recording this on Sunday. So by the time this episode is released, maybe there's been people off the wait list, but as of right now, Sunday, it hasn't happened.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and it's Tuesday at midnight or like Tuesday at 6 a.m., that doesn't mean that at Tuesday at 10 a.m. it can't happen.
Right.
But I would say they usually have it up till Friday. Like they could do it honestly on Friday morning. So
who wouldn't want more money that we're willing to give? So yeah, please.
Yeah. So I just wanted to kind of share that tidbit. It's something to look out for. As we're recording this, it's still in place, the new rule that Ticketmaster has that you can't transfer the seats until 3 days before the event. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. This is it. This is crunch time for everybody who doesn't have tickets and is trying to get tickets, and crunch time for everybody who does have tickets and is like, oh my God, the show's like 5 days away. It is. Make your friendship bracelets, print your stickers if you're not making friendship bracelets, like pack your bags. It is go time.
Yeah. The Great War.
The Great War. But I think with that, we can kind of start to talk about the stadium info itself. We're going to share everything that we know right here on the pod right now. But obviously, because it is a lot of information to take in, to digest, we're going to make an Instagram graphic. I know I also promised you the Instagram graphic for the things to do in Miami to celebrate the Eras Tour, and that is coming if it has not been posted already. And then we'll share the stadium stuff so that you know where to go, what to do on the day of your Eras show. Right.
And if you, again, are still wondering what to do during Eras, make sure you listen to our second episode of season 3, because we did kind of go through like a Swiftie guide to things to do in Miami on Eras weekend. So that could be a good reference too. But I think I can go ahead and kind of start off with merch, because I feel like it's like good, happy news. Because not only are Swifties who have tickets, obviously, have merch accessible to them, but you can also get merch if you don't have a ticket. So the way that Hard Rock is doing it is merch is going to be open to the public 2 days before the first show date. So that means Wednesday, October 16th and Thursday, October 17th, you can get merch and you can go through Parking Gate 2. Merch is going to be open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And parking will be free for like this early bird merch access. So that's something really good too, that like if you're just a Swiftie in Miami and don't have tickets but want an Eras shirt or want some merch, you can just go and park during the week on Wednesday and Thursday and get your merch. Besides that, if it's obviously Friday, Saturday, or Sunday show dates, you do need a ticket to get merch. So if you're a Swiftie right now that doesn't have a ticket but wants merch, you should go Wednesday and Thursday, because if you don't get a ticket Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, then you won't have access to the merch, because at that point it's inside the gate already. But I feel like that's fun and that's good news. And because it's, spread out over 2 days, and I'm pretty sure like it's probably going to be packed with just Swifties without tickets, I feel like it's going to be a good chance, and maybe lines won't be that long just because like they're separating it out like that.
True. I was going to be like, I have a bone to pick with these times, because like who's going to be able to go at 10 a.m. during the week to buy merch? But it's open until 8 p.m., which is nice. It's refreshing that you
can go after work
and have a chance after work to kind of get over there if you're in that general area. The thing is, like, Miami is so big and traffic is so that like I know realistically for me, that's why I have a bone to pick with these times.
I was going to say the same thing. Like, can't relate, doesn't work for me, but that's great for whoever's in that area who can make it.
Yeah. As you know, the Eras Tour will be taking place from October 18th to October 20th. So nights 1, 2, and 3, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And this is like a fun tidbit that I wanted to include, because if you listen to our pod, or you kind of listen to our like LA Eras Tour recap on this pod, and you are kind of basing your day off of some of the crazy things that I told you we did, like show up to the stadium at like 2 p.m. and like get in line. some important notes to take for Miami, right? So parking gates will open for the Miami Eras Tour at 3:30 p.m. This is a hard time. Like, they are not moving this time. So they even included like a little caveat, a little asterisk to say ticket holders cannot arrive before 3:30 p.m. on show days. Road closures will be in place in the areas in and around Hard Rock Stadium and will not be accessible to prior to 3:30 p.m. Sorry. So if you wanted to get there at 2, not happening. But I will say, if you wanted to get there at 3:30 on the dot, or like 3 o'clock, so that you can start making the line, I'm sure there will be a line already forming. Just be aware of the strictness. I don't know how much we actually talked about it on the pod, but obviously Copa America was a huge disaster here in Miami. And this is like the biggest event following that. So I think they're going to be really cracking down on like time, security, all of that stuff, which is kind of why I was like, oh, let's talk about security, but we'll get there when we get there. I think another important thing to note is that a prepaid parking pass is required to park at the stadium, and your parking pass may only be purchased by a ticket holder. So like, I know one of the original ideas that we floated was like, oh, if we don't get tickets, we'll just tailgate in the parking lot at Hard Rock Stadium and like, whatever, we'll make a day out of it. Not happening. If you do not have a ticket, you do not have a parking pass, and you're not going to the Eras Tour, like, that's it. That is what they said. Those are the rules. Unfortunately, we don't make them. Obviously, we would prefer if rules were a different way. So like, whatever, but we get it. Rules are rules, and it is what it is. Like, there's no curtailing around that. They also emphasized, and we kind of talked about this a little bit last week when I was like explaining to you guys that Miami Gardens is not the safest place to kind of lollygag and hang around outside of the stadium. So we don't encourage that. Like we said, Aventura, another good place that I like kind of did some research on is Pembroke Gardens. I personally have been there a few times. Super nice, super cutesy, very demure. Places to drink, places to eat, places to shop. And it's like 20 minutes from the stadium. So one is very east, one is very west. That's what you got. I would hang around there and then make your way. But there are no listening areas outside of the stadium for people without concert tickets. There's none of the Germany Hill, beautiful listening, lollygagging on a picnic blanket sesh. Like, it's not happening. Okay, so let's kind of quickly recap the security and stadium access before Sammy's going to tell us about the bag policy and what's prohibited and what's not. So essentially, layers of security perimeters and ticket checkpoints will be in place to ensure only valid ticket holders enter stadium parking lots and the stadium. This is kind of what I was talking about in Copa America. If you have not heard what happened in Copa America, essentially fans of the Copa America stormed the gates and like didn't have tickets, and they were like, if we just storm and run through, they're not going to stop us. Please do not do that for the Taylor Swift concert. Like, first of all, us Swifties have a reputation to uphold. Okay, people already hate us for no reason. We do not need to give them another excuse to rag on us and call us crazy and like delulu. If you do not have a ticket, you cannot go to the parking, you cannot go to the stadium, stay away. Okay, like, we're literally staying 30 miles away until we get tickets.
A safe distance.
Safe distance. So it says fans will be required to scan their ticket as they pass through each security checkpoint. So I guess that means there's going to be multiple scanning points throughout the stadium. That is literally what it says. It says, following sentence, fans should expect to have their ticket scanned more than once to enter the stadium. And one thing that I want to add in there too is that Ticketmaster, or these scanning things, I don't know who it is that made the rule, but they don't allow you to use a screenshot of your ticket. So like, let's say the three of us are going to the Eras Tour and Sammy has all of our tickets in her Apple Wallet. She can't send me and Natasha a screenshot and say, you girls go, I'll meet you in there. No, because we're not getting it. You have to show it from your Apple Wallet. 1, swipe, 2, swipe, 3, and that is how you'll be able to enter the premises.
Because if you've noticed too, the tickets are like live, like they have like that moving bar thing now. So a screenshot, it's not like that live ticket. So she'd probably have to transfer it in the Ticketmaster app, if that's like something that you and your group are doing, like make sure it's transferred in Ticketmaster so that the live ticket can be added to each person's Apple Wallet.
Yeah, which I don't even know at this point if I recommend doing that, because like
Too scary.
the tickets are such a scary thing right now, with like people's tickets are still being pulled. Like, I literally cannot imagine receiving an email and a phone call from Ticketmaster and being like 5 days before the show and them being like, hey, by the way, you don't have tickets. So like literally check every 2 days on your Ticketmaster to make sure the tickets are still there. Change your password if you have to. Save your tickets to your Apple Wallet. You should be receiving a notification already that says, hey, your show's coming up. Save the tickets for easy access to the show. Do it. It's not a lie. It's not a whatever. Do it. Wake up in the morning, look at your phone and be like, my tickets are here, and move on, because it's too scary at this point. But Sama, if you will take us through the baggage and prohibited items for the Hard Rock Stadium.
Yes, super important, because it would be the absolute worst for you to get there and then not be allowed because you're carrying the wrong thing or maybe something you're not allowed. So what is allowed? Clear plastic bags that do not exceed 12 by 6 by 12. Very important. Emphasis on clear. I know when we went to LA, we all made sure we bought clear bags so that wouldn't be an issue. Small bags that do not exceed 4.5 by 6.5. And what is prohibited are all purses or bags that do exceed 12 by 6 by 12. Logos can only be on one side of the bag and cannot exceed 3.4 by 4.5. Non-clear bags are also prohibited that exceed 4.5 or 6 by 5. Also, additional items to consider that are prohibited are umbrellas. Our recommendation is to carry a poncho that you can put in your clear bag that is the right size dimensions, because it's Miami and the weather is a little bit dicey. We're still in hurricane season, so just be prepared in case it rains. Also, not allowed are power banks that are larger than your phone. No lights, no chain wallets, no balloons. We are not following the Willow trend.
We are not following the Willow trend, number one, because personally, I don't know about you guys, but I was not a fan. Like, I'm low-key afraid of balloons. Like, a balloon popping makes me feel like I'm a war veteran, honestly.
It's the equivalent to a pew-pew shot for me.
Yeah, like they are scary, and essentially, I don't even know why I'm saying this, because it might be giving somebody the idea, but like, let's talk about it anyway. Essentially, do you know what it was, Tosh?
No, I'm
glad that I'm sharing it then. Essentially, people were bringing into the Eras Tour yellow balloons, like the balloon that you blow up with your mouth.
Oh, like the balls that they...
Blowing them up and like putting their phone flashlight in it to make it the Willow orb, which in essence, super cute. Like, I see what you were trying to do. I get it. Am I a fan? No. Do I think it was okay? Absolutely not. Because like, imagine standing next to somebody and that balloon pops. Like, thank you. I can't enjoy the rest of the show because now I'm having an anxiety attack in the bathroom.
Right.
We're at a concert. That can stay at home, at the party, for the tailgate, for the dance party, whatever it is.
Please leave your balloons at home. They are not allowed and they're unnecessary.
I was just laughing because like, who would bring a balloon in? Because then you have to just hold that balloon the entire time. Like, please.
Right. Well, no, I think you bring in the deflated balloon and then you're like, in the starting.
and then you just let the air out.
Well, I guess like we're tying it, or like let it go, or like pop it. God. No, just no, please, God, no.
Yeah.
Evermore starting.
Literally, because they're not walking in with an already inflated balloon. That's too much of a risk to lose. You have to do it when the set starts.
I'm dead.
So,
TikTok search it, like Willow balloon trend or something. I'm sure it'll come up.
So in that same group, anything that could possibly be an annoyance, it is prohibited for the show. No signs larger than 11 by 17 or A3 paper size. You are permitted a clear, soft plastic water bottle, which is interesting. No larger than 20 ounces. And I do know that they're selling on Amazon some plastic bottles that fit this dimension. So that could be an option.
So
Does it mean soft, like the flexible one?
That's what that's what I was asking. Like, does that mean you can't bring a Zephyr Hills bottle?
Right, because that's soft.
So the ones that I saw on Amazon were, think of like a pouch.
Like something you would take in like a camping backpack or something.
Exactly.
Or like plain carry-on, like those.
I don't know how I feel about this because, controversial or not, like, also if you think this is wrong or not, like, I'm just telling you what I think, so please. You could fill it up with vodka. Like, what if I was like, this is my water pouch and it's soft, let me in, but then all of a sudden it's like full of vodka.
Maybe they don't allow it with water in, question mark? Like maybe it has to be empty?
Okay. So
I feel like that would be specified because like if you do at least, if you say like a clear soft plastic water bottle, I would say like a Zephyr Hills bottle, which is like our Florida water if you're not from Florida, and it's like sealed.
Yeah.
Right.
Like if you're bringing in your own water bottle, then you can bring in whatever you want essentially. I guess that's clear liquid.
I'd be more comfortable bringing in like a Zephyr Hills water bottle than having to
That's
go
like sealed.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to see next
I wouldn't
week.
risk it. I feel like I wouldn't buy a bottle, like a reusable one, just for this, because if they turn it down or whatever, like it's not even worth it. You kind of just wasted your money.
Yeah, because then you can't even like you'd have to either drop it back off at the car, which you're probably not going to do because you already walked in the heat and the whatever.
Right.
So you're going to leave it there and it's garbage now. So I would say try to bring in a Zephyr Hills water bottle. That way, if you can't bring in, like at least it's less, of an issue.
Right.
But yeah, that's like what we have on that. I mean, there's no.
They do mention having those refillable water stations, so maybe they do expect it to be empty, but I don't know. I just wouldn't.
I don't know.
Yeah, same.
Honestly, Hard Rock Stadium has like the aluminum water bottle can things. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's like aluminum. Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I just hated that at least in LA, like we couldn't carry something that could be sealed, and
you had to put it in a cup. They had to pour it in.
I'm not chugging it in that moment, so it spilled on the floor.
I think that's because we were on floor though, I think. But I'm lying. Hard Rock Stadium, I do know like if you're purchasing a beer or whatever, they open the can. They don't make you pour it into a cup unless floor, I don't know what the rules are in floor at Hard Rock, but like in the seats, they crack open the can. So you do have to do that. But I don't know. I was just sharing like about the aluminum can thing for the water because it is either Aquafina or Dasani, but because it is in this aluminum can, it honestly is pretty decent. So, but it's like $5 or $6 bottles each one of those, $5 or $6 each one of those like aluminum bottled cans. So
yeah,
it is
probably cheaper than that reusable bottle some people might buy, so that you might have to leave outside anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it anyway, the aluminum water, because I cannot risk another near fainting spell. I don't need that again. So,
well, I like this attitude because if you are going to buy it, that means that we have to be inside the Hard Rock Stadium. And knowing what we know after recording this episode of T Swift Sisters podcast, that means that we have to have tickets because we can't get anywhere near the stadium if we don't have tickets to the show.
Aha!
You can't faint if you're not at the concert.
Yeah.
So that's a good problem to have.
Can't wait.
Okay, and then the last topic of information that we want to share this week, essentially before we close out today's episode, our favorite local ice cream shop, Sweet Melody. If you've been around and you've listened to this pod, we talked about them in season 2, a little bit of their backstory about who they are, and just know that we love Sweet Melody ice cream. And I'm also happy to share that when we recorded about them the last time in season 2, they had 2 locations open, and as of this recording, they now have 3 places that you can get Sweet Melody ice cream. So absolutely love that. They are bringing Taylor Swift week back to the ice cream store, and we are trying all the flavors. So they have 3 different pints of ice cream that are available this week, starting this past Saturday. So they are available now. You can visit Sweet Melody in Coral Gables, Kendall, or the Citadel. If you're going to the Eras tour, we talked about the Eras coffee pop-up shop that had like all the little small Swiftie businesses. It is confirmed. I know, Sammy, you were saying that it's by the Citadel, you believed. It is by the Citadel. And speaking of the Citadel, it's like a nice little food hall we have here in Miami. That is one of the locations, location number 3, where you can purchase Sweet Melody ice cream.
Amazing.
Yes. So the 3 pints that Samantha and I will be tasting in the next little clip that we're going to share is Bake It Off cookie dough ice cream with chocolate chip cookie dough and double chocolate chunk cookie dough. All the cookie dough.
Sounds amazing.
Say less.
I'm really hoping we save you some, Tosh.
It's
But I
really
can't make any
okay if you
promises.
can. Yeah, it's really okay.
It's a pint of ice cream. Like,
Yeah.
let's BFFR. We're going to save you some. Like, a pint is...
I would if I had to maybe just pick one to try, it'd be
Wait.
the 3rd flavor. I'm not gonna say
Okay.
it. Continue.
Okay. The second flavor is Champagne Problems, which is vanilla ice cream with a hint of almond, loaded with champagne wedding cake and champagne buttercream.
Ooh, I'm intrigued.
Last but not least, we have This Is Me Chai-ing, brown sugar ice cream loaded with chai cookies using Taylor's very own chai cookie recipe. This sounds like the absolute perfect, like,
Oh,
fall
Cozy.
hug. Yes.
mhm.
Yes. I'm pretty excited for that one. Is that the one that you were going to say you're excited for, Tosh, or you want to try the most?
Yeah. This is me trying.
Yeah.
I love chai.
To see our full Sweet Melody review, head to our YouTube channel at T-Swift Sisters Pod. And we'll see you there. I mean, I don't know. Swipe transition next. Before we jump off, Sammy has a little bit of clownery to share. Am I applying like a full face of clown makeup right now, or is it like temporary tattoo?
You
How
can just
much?
you can just do the eyes. We'll give that much.
Okay.
So, going on with our never-ending clownery for Reputation, people feel even more convinced that it is happening on October 18th, aka our Friday Night 1 show. Due to the fact that we've had some other album releases pushed back.
Oh, I did know about this. Okay.
Tosh is like, So Shawn Mendes recently announced, well, at least when this drops, not so recently, that his album is being pushed back because it needs more time.
It needs more stitches. I'm sorry. Keep going.
Thank you.
I think that was better in your head.
So his album will be pushed back, and also Joe Jonas's album release is being pushed back. So we have 2 highly anticipated releases that are being pushed for maybe unforeseen circumstances, maybe clownery that we already know of. We have been seeing a lot of plaid lately, which people are like, what's with this plaid theme? Well, we've seen some plaid in her Look What You Made Me Do music video, and she's heavily using Vivienne Westwood as a designer. So there could be some connections here back to Reputation. And of course, because she's coming to Florida, Swamp Central, it just reminds people of this interview that she did back, I think, in Lover era, where she described Reputation as being like the Swamp Witch vibe. So, I don't know. The math is mathing. I'm always going to be here clowning, so that's all
I'm gonna raise you 1. I hear what you're saying about the albums, but I'm gonna raise you 1.
Well,
Maybe they need more marketing, because I had no idea that Shawn Mendes or Joe Jonas were releasing 2 albums, and I'm a Joe girly. He's my favorite Joe bro.
I'm gonna be honest, neither did I, only
Yeah,
because
same.
Taylor's name was dropped in this news as well. I think like to other people it could have been known because Shawn Mendes is making a comeback after going
He's big. Yeah, he's big.
He's big. And so is Joe. We'll give Joe his due credit. So maybe that's just a miss on my part that I didn't know, and I only know now.
But we're 3 for 3 in here.
All 3 of us didn't know. Yeah, I was gonna say.
You can't count Tosh.
No, but I know those people. I love Joe Jonas.
That's the only
Okay, I see.
That's the only thing I'm going to raise you. Speaking of swamp, I'm sorry, I just had to throw this in there.
Swamp.
The word swamp specifically, no, but for us Florida girlies, also Florida, aka University of Florida girlies, somebody in a group that I'm in on Facebook said, "Hey, where my gators at?"
Oh.
When Taylor sings, or if she sings Florida, that part where Florence says, and we sink into the swamp or something, if we all do the gator chomp. And people were like, ew, that's so gross. And I was like, yes,
I'm in.
I'm there. So, new tradition at the Eras Tour. If Taylor Swift sings Florida and Swamp, we're all going to gator chomp. And if you're not a gator, but you want to be a honorary gator, it is right over left. And you just chomp it up. So there you go.
If Florida's played, noted.
If Florida's played. And then she specifically says the word swamp.
Thank you.
The University of Florida football stadium is known as the quote unquote swamp. That is where that came from. Just sharing. Right. I think it's super cute. So I just wanted to add that in there. It reminded me when you said swamps, you know.
That about wraps up this week's episode. Thanks for savoring this week's Swift Scoop brought to you by Sweet Melody. We hope you've had your fill of all things Taylor Swift, and we'll see you next week right here on the T Swift Sisters podcast. Happy Miami Eras Week!
Woo!
Bye!
For Taylor Swift news updates and to stay in touch, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at T Swift Sisters Pod and at T Swift Sisters on Twitter.